Hi, this is Raul Jaquez from Three Sons Farm, and what we're going to talk about today is how to calculate COGS and profit margin. So there's a lot of I hear a lot of terms thrown out there when people talk about their business or their products, and ask questions: Are you making any money? And people say, "Oh, I'm not making any money," or "Make a profit." Haha, that's not possible. And I just am kind of not sure really what it is they're talking about because I never hear anyone talk about COGS or anything like that. So I just kind of wanted to do a review on how to really nail down whether or not your product is making any money, what your profit margin is, um, and or whether or not you have a new idea and you want to try it and see if it's going to be profitable, to be able to analyze those things in real ways instead of just kind of having a hunch or I feel like I'm making money. So that's what we're going to do today. So what I want to start off with is so the goal then today is calculating COGS and profit margin. That's what we're going to talk about. So first, let's look at the definition of COGS. COGS is the cost of goods sold. It's a dollar amount. And the key thing with COGS and this calculation is we're talking about direct costs. So all the costs that are associated directly with creating that good or that product. So for this example, we're going to look at the COGS for a broiler chicken or a meat chicken. And so the idea is this: when I'm holding a whole chicken in my hand and it's ready to be sold to a customer, how much did that cost me to get it to that point? The direct costs. So let's look at the direct costs versus indirect costs and what that looks like. Okay, so let's look at, we're going to compare direct costs and indirect costs. So for the broiler chicken, of course, the direct costs are the cost of the chick, feed, of course, water, and you can make your list as detailed as you'd like. I'm just going to throw a few things up here. What did I have? Oh, like, for brooding, if you use fluff or chips, and if you use propane heaters or electrical electricity, and then you can add other things in there as well. But the one thing that I want to stress, and this is left out of COGS a lot, maybe too much, and that is always include your labor. Because that's part of the COGS calculation. All right, so now let's compare this to, oh, did I leave something out? I think I had something for packaging. Let's put it over here. For packaging, labels, stuff like that. Yeah, so this is direct cost. Indirect costs could be things like, gas, for deliveries. It could be farmers market fees. What else do I have here? Oh, it could be like sales and marketing, advertising, so maybe you have some signs or you have social media, maybe you have somebody who's, doing your Instagram, also your website, all those kinds of things. They all cost money, but they're indirect because we have other things in our business. You might sell, turkeys or pigs or other livestock or produce, other things. And so these indirect costs kind of get dispersed. This will These will come into play later on this other talk I'm going to do. But for right now, we're going to focus on the direct costs. All right, so let's throw some numbers up here just to get an idea of how we do this. And I don't want you to get bogged down too much by the prices of things because it's going to vary depending on the quantity, your resources, where you are, where you live, things you have access to. So just for the purposes of this calculation, so I think for the chick cost, I think I have something like $3.50. Feed, I think I put like 75 cents. Water, you might have a well, or so you could, let's leave it off for right now. It's probably very small, but if you live someplace where water is expensive, then you definitely want to include that. Let's see. Packaging and labeling, I think I put 25 cents. Labor, I think I have like $4. And all these prices, this is per bird, what we're doing here. Per bird. We're trying to get the COGS, the cost of producing one bird. Now, normally what would happen if you did a batch, like if we do a batch of 600 birds, then I can keep track of the feed and all that, and at the end I add up that total cost divided by 650, then I can get a really good accurate cost per bird. But this is how we're going to do it for right now. I think fluff, I have 50 cents for that. But again, if you have access to that, maybe you have a chipper, then that goes away. And propane, I think I have something like, we use propane heaters, so like $4 or something. All right, so again, these prices will change depending on your situation, your resources. But let's add them all up. And I think I added them earlier and I got a total of $13. So the cost of producing one chicken is $13 in this example. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, now what we're going to do, and so also I would recommend these things, these items, this whole thing be put on a spreadsheet. And if you're interested, let me know in the comments below, and then I'll show you a spreadsheet and how we organize that and play around with the numbers. Okay, so now we have the cost, $13. Remember that number, because now we're going to do the profit margin. So the profit margin, you can calculate it in dollar amounts or percentage. I like to use percentage. Because, well, I like to do both, but the percentage one is what I really stress because that's a good indicator. So when you, like if you ever watch Shark Tank and, one of the first things they always ask is, what are your margins? And they'll say, 50% margin, 60%, ooh, okay, or 10%, and things like that. So that's a key, this is a key number to calculate. So what it is, it's the revenue minus the COGS divided by your revenue. And we're going to change it to a percentage, so I'm going to put times 100 here. All right. So the revenue, really the revenue is a dollar amount, but it's really the price of our chicken. And we're going to do a whole chicken, so price of whole chicken. Okay. What is that? What are we selling our chicken for? How much revenue dollars does that sale bring in? So to get this number right here, we need to make some assumptions. So let's say that for a whole chicken, you charge, $5 per pound. Okay. And let's say the average weight of a whole chicken, and again, this will vary depending on what kind of product you're trying to produce for who and what your customers want. But let's say it's a 4-pound average for a whole chicken. That's what you're shooting for. So then, let's just stick it in here. So the revenue then, the amount of money selling a whole chicken brings is $20 for a 4-pounder. The COGS we know was $13. And then we divide that by the revenue, $20. So I did that calculation earlier, and you get times 100, right, to turn it into a percentage. You get a 35% profit margin. Now, for me, anything greater than 30% is good for me. If you get below 30%, then you really need to decide what it is you're trying to do. But there are times where you might take a smaller profit margin, especially if it's maybe in the short term, in order to get more business in the long term. That's possible, but just for calculation, for determining whether or not this product is making money and if I should continue with it, for me it's 30% or higher. If it's zero, close to zero, I would just drop it and do something else. And if it's negative, of course, now you're just losing money. But let me digress for a second. If you're starting out, like you've just processed 25 chickens, and you're still learning all the processes and getting your business running, you're probably going to be losing money in the beginning. That's just how it is. And that's okay, because that money you'll be in the red, but you'll be able to write that off on your tax returns. And so, but this is when you're up and running and you're trying to figure out, is this a good product, a good business to continue with? So 35% or greater, or 30% or greater is good. So this one, this is a good number. Now, when I have it in a spreadsheet, now I can just look at it and go, okay, maybe I can change my practices so that I have, instead of taking 20 minutes to do the work for one chicken, I can cut that in half to 10. Oh, that lowers my labor. So anytime you can lower your COGS, you're going to increase this number. Or you go, well, what if I can, get bulk feed now? That'll lower my costs. So if you have it in a spreadsheet, you can throw those numbers in. Or maybe if you up, now instead of buying 50 chicks, you're buying 100, so now you get a quantity discount. And then all those things matter. Or maybe you find a new person, a new vendor to get your bags from for packaging and labeling. All those things determine how much money you're going to make or not make. Well, I hope that this has helped kind of clear up some things on profit margin and how to calculate the COGS and the difference between direct costs and indirect costs. And the next show I'm going to do is then now how do we calculate our net profit margin, and that's where we take into account all those indirect costs and see what that looks like. Because really, there's other costs associated with this, right? That are going to chip away at this number. That's why 30% is a good one. And I'll just show you, for example, Starbucks, their net profit last year, I think was like 13%, which is awesome. Okay, that's net profit, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next show. All right, so if you have comments or questions, or you want to see something else done, just leave them in the comment section below. And appreciate your time and watching this. And good luck, and make some money. Thanks. Bye.